Good morning, good evening, and welcome to World of Warships Legends. My name is Robin, and today we will be sailing in the Tier 7 Russian light cruiser, Chapayev. But first of all, thank you very much for tuning in the video. I really appreciate it, and I hope you will enjoy your time here. We got a full commentary ahead of us today, so without further ado, let's review the details of the ship we're about to sail in. With 37,000 hit points and an armor layout ranging from 6 to 175mm, Chapayev, pinnacle of the Russian light cruiser tech tree, embarks 12 152mm guns in a 4x3 turret configuration as its main armament. Reload time on the guns is 6.8 seconds, with a maximum firing range of 17.4 kilometers. The ship is also equipped with the classic Russian point defense torpedo system, 2 triple launchers, 4 kilometers of range with a reload time of 76 seconds and a speed of 65 knots. Chapayev can reach a top speed of 34.5 knots, has a concealment of 12.3 kilometers by sea and 7.7 kilometers by air, while being issued a surveillance radar, hydroacoustic search and a repair party as consumables. For the modules I've installed, we have Aiming System Modification 1, Damage Control System Modification 2, Concealment System Modification 1, and Main Battery Modification 3. For my commander, Nikolai Kuznetsov with Follow the Sun, Boned Down XXL, Intuitive, Equilibrium of Power, Fixated and Fully Packed. As inspirations, Charles Maiden with Aim and Fire and André Lemonnier with Window of Opportunities. For those unacquainted with the skill system in Legends, I will put a full description of each skills in a pinned comment below. But that's well enough of these descriptions. We have a whole game to review, so without further ado, let's take the Chapayev to battle. And here we are, on the map Neighbors, and as a battle mode, Capture the Base. We have ourselves a southwest spawn, along with 2 other friendly battleships, and as a long-range gun platform, our objective will be to patrol the western flank and entrave any destroyers that would be brave enough to venture close. Now, there are inherent traits between the Chapayev you may know from PC and the Chapayev in Legends. The main difference being that currently the armor schemes include 30mm extremities and upper belt, rendering the cruiser able to tank quite effectively against battleship caliber AP. The citadel is still quite exposed and only 100mm thick. Combined with a poor turning circle, the cruiser is still vulnerable if caught broadsided. We do have a heel to shrug off mistakes if we make any, but just like clockwork, the first enemy targets are spotted: a Tirpitz, a Vladivostok, and we also had a glimpse of an enemy Bismarck pushing the flank as well. 3 out of 5 battleships on this side. We sure will have our hands full if they show any aggressivity. Currently, my intuitive skill is showing towards the last position of Bismarck, but I can keep a few doubts on whether or not a destroyer might be located instead. I am going to lag around a bit to get a few more salvos on Tirpitz before advancing slightly to pick the island in a kiting position against Bismarck. In that setup right here, Chapayev is very scary. You are able to protect the critical parts of your ship while spewing an impressive amount of fire downrange. The Equilibrium of Power skill we depicted in our introduction essentially works as the IFHE you know from PC. This gives our guns plus 30% penetration on the HE shells while reducing the shell damage by 10%. This allows us to penetrate the bow of battleships and virtually all non-critical parts of other ships, which further emphasizes on the fact that you do not want to remain under sustained fire from this light cruiser. Though the enemy Bismarck does not seem to care at all, and we are going to take full advantage of that. While kiting away like this, I tend not to go full speed, so I remain in the vicinity of the action while being able to turn back at a moment's notice. Every meters you give out will have to be taken back at some point, and that's precious time, especially since Legends battles only have 15 minutes to offer. We are also leaving way for our Vladivostok to berserk in, taking a bit of the attention off of us. With the Bismarck coming in that close, we almost get the range on our torpedoes. Unfortunately, I launched them a bit too soon, and I doubt they will actually hit anything, but if we can make the Bismarck maneuver in fear, it is good anyway. We also have a few fires raging on the German battleship, 2 on the superstructure and 1 on the bow after we start aiming for that specific part. We are getting hit as well by a few secondary shells here and there, but I am very confident I do not run the risk of taking any heavy damage. And at this point we are basically farming, as we are certain of the fate of the enemy battleship rushing through our line. Bismarck gets taken out. Next in line is the enemy Tirpitz, which decided it would be wiser to stay at range, though we now know we have a strong advantage on this flank, as it is a 5 versus 2 with no destroyer threats. We cannot say the same for the rest of our team though. The eastern flank seems to be in trouble already. Both enemy destroyers have been located there too, so I need to keep a close eye on the situation up there to react in time if our base is threatened. Meanwhile, I am trying to engage in a hard right turn to start bowing on towards Tirpitz, but given how he is alternating salvos between front and back guns, I do not have a lot of opportunities for such maneuvers without risking exposing my side, so I keep relying on kiting away until I get a better occasion. And as soon as Tirpitz gets distracted, I make my move. At this point, the lonely Queen of the North is caught in a nasty crossfire as our friendly Vladivostok rounds the island and slams a full AP salvo on its side, removing the little HP he had left for us to secure the kill. One more battleship left on this side, and we have to take care of it quick. While we downed 2 targets already, so did the enemy team, and left to defend the eastern flank is 1 outnumbered destroyer, now also destroyed, and a fleeing cruiser. So it is high time we sail back to our base in anticipation for an inevitable defense. Though Chapayev is one of the fastest cruisers out there, so I should be able to get involved rather soon. In the meantime, I traverse my guns on port side and check on the enemy Vladivostok's bearing, as I may be able to assist underway if he decides to push us. Now, the good news is we did not take a lot of damage in the engagements, and neither did most of the battleships we were escorting. Bad news is that we do not have any destroyers left, while the enemy team still has both very afloat. Less than 10 minutes remaining on the timer, and we are naturally slightly behind on points. Friendly Bismarck here has got himself in a rather troubled spot, and while he is providing valuable crossfire on the enemy Vladivostok, I am already considering that we will unfortunately trade him in the skirmish against the Russian battleship. And while I am desperately trying to get a firing angle, terrain says otherwise. A short glance ahead of us reveals an enemy Mogami and a King George V, both very well and healthy, escorted by a 3rd battleship, making its way back towards us. This still leaves mystery on the location of both enemy destroyers, but we don't have to worry about that just yet. Our Bismarck inevitably goes down, and we are now down 2 ships compared to the enemy ranks, with a rather unhealthy point gap. Though, considering what the minimap is telling us, it seems the bulk of the fight will not occur near our base just yet, as most of the heavy artillery of the enemy team is still near their spawn. This, at least, will leave us enough time to deal with Vladivostok and not get overwhelmed, as a simultaneous push could end this game in a timely manner. In the meantime, I am trying to do 3 things here. First of all, focusing the Vladivostok with all available firepower. I am trying to aim for the massive bow of the Russian battleship, as it is one of the only parts I can easily penetrate. Second of all, I sacrifice a bit of my firepower since I am sailing fully broadsided to the enemies pushing the eastern flank. Better be safe than sorry, I decide to point my bow away, but not too much, as last but not least, I want to remain in radar range of our cap, since, if you have paid attention, my intuitive skill, aka RPF, has turned towards it. I am hence expecting a destroyer to be pushing our port side, but I'm of course holding the radar until I see our base being flipped. And just like clockwork, enemy Tashkent, which appears to be in bad shape, was indeed creeping up in our zone. First salvo knocks him out, ensuring that the following shot secures our second kill of the game, and I immediately activate hydroacoustic search to detect any incoming torpedoes. Surprisingly enough, our radar had also picked up the enemy lightning, but by the time I realized so, its action time ran out and the British destroyer was in smoke. Though this is rather worrying, as the cooldown on my radar is actually rather lengthy. In a daring attempt, our friendly Hipper took out the Vladivostok, though at the cost of yet another friendly battleship a minute prior. I do know for a fact that our base is now safe though, and as long as lightning doesn't have a say in it, our team will not have that distraction to be concerned about. The goal is to sail back in firing range and keep a close eye on our RPF while we recharge our radar. 5 minutes left, and I have to say it isn't looking too good. Both remaining enemy battleships, the King George and Richelieu, are still doing great health-wise and are also in a heated standoff with our now battered Vladivostok and Scharnhorst. Good thing is, I am in a perfect long-range crossfire, a position in which Chapayev excels. After a few salvos launched at King George, I focus Richelieu since he is the higher tier and potentially the highest threat. Richelieu is also coated in 32mm plating, making our high explosive quite potent against it. We do spot some torpedoes in the water heading westwards, indicating that lightning isn't interested in our base after all. This reassures me as well as concerns me, since our battleships are faced with an even bigger threat. Our Hipper gets knocked out of the fight, and I am effectively the last cruiser afloat in my team, with now a 3 versus 5 on our hands. The high caliber achievement pops up as we reach over 140k damage dealt, and we are just making our guns sing as loud as they can. While I try to alternate between the two battleships with intent on starting fires on each of them, the plunging trajectory hitting the deck is thankfully granting us a vast majority of penetration, as we need every bit of damage we can dish out right now. A well-placed salvo from our Vladivostok is going to gloriously knock out the enemy Mogami out of the battle, buying us some precious points and removing a dangerous source of damage. We also earn Confederate, as our stream of shells is still being sent downrange and more fires are being set. This does attract the attention of the Richelieu though, and I have to watch for my angling once again. But the 30mm works wonder and we take minimal damage. The French battleship also has repaired a double fire from us, so I am not letting the trigger go until he is ablaze again. Richelieu loses interest in me as fast as he acquired it and turns his turrets back ahead, leaving me thinking that I am free to rain more hell from range. With that 6.8 second reload, I sure as hell make myself noticed. Though King George does not seem to be bothered either, as he is sailing alongside and possibly focusing our battleships instead. At least, that's what I believe, until I zoom out and see a full HE salvo soaring through the air towards me. Now, 30mm while angled is great at repelling AP. What it's not good at though is resisting HE, and King George knows that very well, chunking a significant 12,000 damage off of our health pool in one accurate salvo. I may have been a bit cocky here, remaining stationary, but that's what we get for being an HE harassing puny cruiser. We do finish off Richelieu and head for some cover while we repair, with full intent on re-engaging as soon as we clear the terrain. The enemy lightning though is last seen head rushing our Scharnhorst, effectively taking him out and leaving just myself and the Vladivostok. A mere 2 minutes left on the timer, and with less than 100 points difference, I am still uneased and pressured. Though we ain't got no time for these feelings now. With King George still distracted, we let it rip once again, and this time at this range, the British battleship is actually in some trouble. Vladivostok somehow is going to take out lightning. The British destroyer was apparently not in stealth anymore, and this is actually extremely clutch, as the time needed to hunt that destroyer down was just non-existent. The only thing missing to the equation is the remaining enemy cruiser, and as I round the island, I'm going to burn my radar to make sure I am not being ambushed. But so far, nothing on the horizon outside King George, which is currently eating enough raw HE damage to give me some hope. But alas, the timer is counting down the last minutes, and even if we managed to get our points almost equalized, we are still losing. We get the Witherer achievement as we set yet another fire on King George, and if not for my slow reaction time, we traverse on the enemy hipper that we finally spot. To my relief, the German cruiser has but a sliver of health left, and we should be able to deal with it, but we have to do it fast. Vladivostok is out and I am the last one standing. Salvos on the hipper lands while my fires are still raging on King George. Only 15 seconds left, hipper will go down as we desperately try to re-engage the British battleship. 9 seconds left. At this point, I am not sure if that's enough, even for my shell's travel time. But we land just enough hits straight on the bow to remove what was left of KGV, cracking that double strike and snatching a win out of what would have been a defeat if a second too late. Over 600,000 credits earned and 9,000 XP gained. We achieved Confederate, Double Strike, Witherer, High Caliber and Kraken Unleashed, dealing 240,000 points of damage out of 532 shells and 19 fires, while sinking 5 ships in the process. 3,100 base XP, shortly followed by our Vladivostok, for who we owe that win for taking out top enemy scorer Lightning. Chapayev is by far one of the most potent cruiser in my book, and we had to use most of our assets as well as timely positioning in order to prevail. Our usual serving of luck also helped us through the fight, and if not for the last second win, I hope that this video showcased a good example of how Chapayev can be commanded. Well, people, this episode is coming to an end. Thank you very much for sticking all the way through. Do you enjoy reviews of World of Warships Legends? And how would you fare if more content like this was uploaded? Tell me in the comments below. And if you have enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you did not, thumbs down. But stay tuned anyway. As usual, there is more content to come about World of Warships. So, until then, you have a good one, and you take it easy.